great, great leaders of our state who just was up here speaking. I'm going to tell you, John Thrasher, as the state senator, John Thrasher is chairman of our party, and John Thrasher as the husband of Jean is a great, great American Floridian. So give him another round of applause. And that's not to take away from Charles McBurney and the rest of your legislative delegation. Duval County is well represented, and I'm excited to be here today and be part of Duval Federated. We really appreciate the chance to come here. Many of you are friends I've known for a long time. Others I'm just getting acquainted today for the first time. Some of you were out when I brought Jeb Bush through the other day, and I appreciate that very much. One of those who's around with me in a lot of places, who's not from Duval County, has already been introduced as our Majority Leader, Adam Hasner. He's been working great with our campaign. You fit in pretty well here in Duval, you know. England could not be with me today, but I've got to tell you what I tell everybody everywhere I go, not just Federated Republican women. I could not be running, I could not be serving as Attorney General right now if it weren't for my wife Ingrid. And she is the love of my life, and she is a very integral part of this race. I want to tell you why I'm running for governor. And it goes back to Ingrid. Ingrid and I have been married now 38 years. We have 3 sons. We have 2 grandsons. We have a 3rd on the way. We think it's going to be a little girl this time. And this race is about them. It's about our children and grandchildren, your children and grandchildren, and making Florida a better place for them. That's just what it's about. It's not about me. It's about them. And it's about electing somebody that you know, somebody whose record, and I'm very proud of my record, is one that is clear and open and understandable, and who's going to be able to lead this state in very troubled times. Florida today, many Floridians are hurting. Our state has one of the largest unemployment rates in the country. Where over 1 million people are out of work. We have the most difficult economic times in Florida since the Great Depression. We're not in a depression, but it sometimes feels like that for a lot of our people. And when we look at the next governor, the role that I'm going to have to play is going to be to lead our state to create jobs. That's the #1 job. I don't care what the TV ads say. I know there's been a lot going back and forth in campaigning, but that's what it's all about. And I have a plan that's been vetted with Steve Forbes that would create 500,000 new jobs over the next 6 years. There are no gimmicks in this plan. It's very straightforward. It's important because what it's going to do is, first of all, it's going to change the economic climate in our state so that businesses are going to want to more likely come here, and it's going to allow for small businesses to grow, and that's where jobs are. We as Republicans know it's not government that creates jobs, it's small businesses that create jobs. It's the economic climate that creates jobs. So what does it do? First of all, we would reduce the corporate income tax rate from 5.5% to 4.5%, give a 10-year exemption for certain new businesses in high-tech and biotech and aerospace and that type that move here to Florida, move their headquarters, relocate production facilities, and meet certain standards that we know are going to create jobs in our state and are the type we really want to go with the synergies that have come with companies like Scripps and Burnham that have come here as a result of what Jeb Bush recruited several years ago. We need to also eliminate the sales tax permanently on certain equipment needed for the high-tech, biotech, aerospace industry, and perhaps for building out the fiber optic to the rural areas of our state. Given those 3 things in the tax laws, and then reducing the regulatory burden. You know, Florida is not California, it's not New Jersey, it's not New York, thank goodness it's not. But Florida is one of the most overtaxed states. We have more taxes and regulations than any, I shouldn't say tax states, one of the most overregulated states. We have more regulation than almost any other state except those 3. We're in the top possible 10. Certainly we're in the top 20 of being overregulated. And so when you look at what we need to do in order to get our state moving, in order to be able to recruit businesses here, we need to make those tax law changes I just said, and we need to remove some of the regulatory burdens. I propose one-stop shopping in Tallahassee that Jeb Bush has talked about, but we never have had enacted, where when you go to Tallahassee, you only have to one place that you go in order to get your permits, in order to get your licensing, in order to get things done. And there are a lot of other things that are in this plan. You can find it at BillMcCollum.com. In addition to all of that, I think we have to streamline the procedures, the process, the toolkit that I have as governor, because I want to be Florida's Chief Economic Development Officer. And we're going to have an ambassador in the office, not some czar. I think my opponent called it a czar. He's not going to have any power. It's my office. But I want to have one person who's going to go throughout the United States whose primary job is to look for businesses of the type we want to bring here, businesses that want to relocate, and we want to become competitive with Texas and Mississippi. We also need to have something that John Thrasher mentioned a while ago. We may have worked together, John, on a little bit of lawsuit reform, but we have never had the full-fledged reform that you and I both need, we need in this state. We need to have it. And when I'm governor, we're going to have meaningful, significant tort reform, litigation, lawsuit reform. We're going to have it. It's going to occur. Speaking of the doctors, Florida has today the highest medical malpractice insurance premiums of any state in the union, on average, the highest. Now that's unacceptable for a lot of reasons. One is that when we have a need for a doctor, we're finding there are fewer doctors practicing medicine here. When a young person goes out of medical school and then goes and does their residency and wants to decide where they're going to practice medicine, not enough of them are choosing Florida. And the number one reason they give for not choosing Florida are the high malpractice insurance premiums that we have in our state. That's the number one reason. And so what does that mean? Well, it isn't just that my dad doesn't have enough, at 95, as a 95-year-old, enough health care. It doesn't mean just that our children may not. It also means that companies and businesses that are looking to relocate are going to think twice about Florida if we're not able to provide the doctors and the nurses and the health care that we need to be able to provide. So it's very important. And so are a number of other things. Education is too. I don't have time to spend talking about all the things that I'd like to see done in our state. But I'll tell you one thing. We do need to have a dramatic improvement in the public education system of our state. And when I'm governor, we're going to build on what Jeb Bush gave us. He gave us accountability. Fourth grade reading and math tests have shown improvement. But we have not gotten where we need to be. We got a long way to go. And we're going to have to rise up to a greater level. And that means things like merit pay. It means things like having a phase out of tenure. It means more choice in the schools, and it means more direction for continuing education in those areas we really, really have to have, like science, in the middle schools and in the high schools. So, having said all of that, that's the background and the backdrop of just telling you that the main job of the next governor is going to be to create jobs. That's going to be the main job. Now, I will tell you, though, there's more to running for governor and being governor than the policy issue. We've got an issue of leadership, character, integrity, and trust, and records. All of those are important. And I will stack my record up any day against this fellow that spent $45 million running against me. And I want to tell you a little bit about that record. I'm proud of that record. I'm proud of serving in Congress as a Ronald Reagan Republican. I was elected with him. And I know what it means to be a Reagan Republican conservative. I also was there at a time when we had troubles that well preceded September the 11th. And I created, founded, chaired the House Task Force on Terrorism. When I was in Congress, I was there for the Contract with America, and I helped write it. And we got a Republican majority elected in 1994. And we were able to balance the budget. The last time the budget was balanced, I left Congress in 2000. And we were doing very well with that. So I'm proud of that record. I'm also proud of what I've been able to do with my team as your Attorney General. I'm proud of the cyber crime effort. You got that housed right here in Tallahassee, or in Jacksonville, not in Tallahassee. You got Maureen Horkin heading that unit here today. We go after the cyber predators before they get kids on the internet. But also, there's a 50-minute cyber safety program that I think I've talked to this club about in the past that we now have had in virtually every middle school and every high school in the state of Florida, teaching kids how to protect themselves against the bad guys that might come prey on the internet after them. And we have a great gang reduction strategy that's developed on my watch. And our team has gone after mortgage fraud and Medicaid fraud. We've had higher recoveries since I've been Attorney General for Medicaid than any other Attorney General by far. It's been a great, great period of service as Attorney General. But the two things that hallmark it right now are, first and foremost, the ones that our chairman mentioned a moment ago. 7 minutes after the president signed that health care bill into law, I filed a lawsuit to have it declared unconstitutional. And that is a basic fundamental issue that's in there of states' rights versus the federal government, of individual rights versus the federal government. I believe this case is going all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And when it's decided, I think we're going to win, probably a 5-4 decision. And it's going to be the most historic decision in my lifetime about those issues, those fundamental issues to us. There's no place in the Constitution, in the enumerated powers that the Founding Fathers gave to Congress, that says that they can say to you, if you're just sitting in front of your television set, that you have to buy a product like a health insurance plan, or else pay a penalty to the federal government. It's just not there. I realize the liberals are going to say, well, the Commerce Clause is there and it covers everything. But the Founding Fathers never intended the Commerce Clause to cover absolutely everything. And if it does this, there's nothing I can think of it wouldn't cover. This is inactivity. There's no commerce going on. You're just sitting there. Their arguments are that you somehow indirectly affect other people. Well, you indirectly affect other people every day. Every time I'm sitting there, I'm taking up air and space right next door to you. I'm breathing some of that air. I'm affecting you. I mean, where does it stop? So I think our argument is persuasive and will be persuasive to anybody willing to listen. And there's another component to this lawsuit and this issue, and that has to do with the Medicaid part. Besides suing the government over that individual mandate I mentioned, we are suing the 19 other states that have joined us, and the National Federation of Independent Business has joined us. We're suing over the states having their assets and their wealth, if you will, confiscated, commandeered, coerced by the federal government in violation of the 10th Amendment. It centers on Medicaid. Today, our budget in the state of Florida, 27% of that Charles and John and I have to deal with, 27% of that budget goes to Medicaid. That's because a few years ago the federal government made the decision that they were going to allow us to administer their program, which we agreed for some reason to do years ago, and in return we were going to pay money out. I don't know how the bargain went that way, but the state